Good morning, friends. Pull up a mat. Let's do yoga. This is the second part of our sponsored video, and we'll add in a bit of our Vinyasa Krama classical yoga. Actually, what's part of the tree pose sequence, and maybe we'll see with the full moon if some moon salutations will enter in, and a bit of the supportive yoga that I've been experiencing in my current studies for trauma-informed yoga. It's really quite beautiful. So let's start in a comfortable position. You may want to sit, you may want to stand. Have what you need nearby. I like to have a mat and layers and blocks. The wall might be helpful, or a piece of steady furniture, heavy, that won't move on you. We'll be doing some balancing. If you'd like, you can pick your toes up and spread them wide, and imagine pressing into the four corners of your feet there, and then even pressing into your tippy toes. And imagine planting your roots and pulling up a bit through the tops of your feet, and pulling up a bit through the front of your low legs, and pulling up a bit through the front of your upper legs, and maybe even rolling those shoulders a few times. In fact, let's interlace the fingers, and you choose. You could have the palms facing you or pressing a bit away from you behind the back. You might play with it and notice if you prefer one way or the other, or if you benefit from one way or the other. And then involving the chin in a bit of a forward fold toward, just with the chin, towards your throat or your heart center. Some call this the Jalandhara Bandha, the chin lock. Finding your breathing, so your spine is long, not slouched, and you're releasing your neck with your chin bowing forward a bit. You may prefer your chin forward. You may prefer your chin coming up and opening up. And you may play with a couple of those choices or a few of those choices. And you might switch your hands while you're at it. Or you may have found a place that feels just right for you. And when you feel complete, the invitation is to bring your hands in front of heart center. I'll work with Kali Mudra. Kali is known as the goddess for great change, and for sure it seems her energies are surrounding us now. So your fingers interlace, your forefingers point and your thumbs stack. Some may call this temple or steeple. And your forefingers point. And you might start to reach your arms forward and pull them back in. Or maybe you'd like to reach your arms up and pull them back down the midline. So if you'd like, an inhale as you extend and an exhale as you come back in. Finding your breathing. If you feel your stance wants to go wider or closer together, set that up. Sometimes taking up more space feels more powerful. Maybe you'd like to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. A few more. And as you bring your hands to your heart center, finding the stance that works for you, or maybe your hands are moving to your solar plexus, the center of your power. The color is yellow. And we'll start to move in to a bit of our salutations. So You might this time keep your hands apart, or you might bring palms together, or you can take that Kali Mudra again, and maybe you'll become an open-hearted mountain. Hands making their way down the midline. I'm going to move to find my blocks here. I just wanted you to be able to see the whole mountain. You could find your blocks, you could find your legs. Just if you find your legs, be sure you're not pressing so hard that your knees are getting pushed back behind their safe space. And from this place, you might cross one foot over the other. So your ankles are crossed, your blocks could lower. Some of us prefer to stay with a half fold, so the spine is long and parallel with the floor. Some of us like to move to a full fold. Some would prefer to use the mat, so you can claw your fingers or press your palms down. See what feels best for you in this moment. Finding your breathing. As you lift your head and heart, let's switch sides. So the other foot comes across and we'll bow. So these, yoga postures are good for many parts of our body. But by crossing the ankles, we're giving attention to the space between the hip and the knee on the side of the upper leg. And that's referred to as the IT band. And as you lift your head and heart, let's unwind the feet, and from a half fold, we'll step one foot back, and you may like to hang out in lunge for a moment, or two, or three, and you're welcome to bring the back knee down, where we'll move into a bit of a half moon, but let's see if we want to roll over part of the mat, or this is a good time to get your blanket and place your blanket so it's supporting your knee. You might come up one hand at a time or two hands at a time. Sometimes for balance sake, we take the front foot and go a little wider. If you'd like, your arms can raise up, and you have those options again, palms apart, palms together. Some of us like to spread the fingers wide. Some of us like to keep the fingers together. And of course, you can take the Kali Mudra. Now this switches for me. Sometimes I want to stay very long and strong in the center, and other times I want to move forward for my hips' sake. Beginning to listen to the requests the body might be making, and allowing ourselves to breathe with those requests. And then as your hands come down, let's do a bit for obviously the whole body, right? This is a holistic practice, but let's see if we can give that IT band a little attention again. So let's keep one hand down and block or mat, up to you, and reach the other hand out or up. Or maybe you'll even invite that top hand near your ear and see if you can feel something releasing in your upper leg to the side there. You might not. We're all put together differently. And you have the options for your gaze. You could gaze to the floor and down, which is usually helpful for our balance. You could gaze across from you, which might be neutral for your neck. And of course, you can gaze up in the direction of your elbow if you'd like. And then your top hand releasing. Let's see what happens if we try that on the other side. And then coming center, if you'd like, you could lift your back foot. You might have a flexed foot back there. You might have a pointed foot. And maybe, just maybe, your opposite hand compared to the foot will reach for a pant leg, an ankle, or a foot, or perhaps you're staying with the reach, and that's fine as well. And then as you release that back foot, maybe you'll toe heel the front foot a little wider. And if you like, as long as your ankle doesn't mind, you could roll a little bit to the outer edge of that front foot, and your matching hand could give the same knee a little nudge. You might like to look forward, you might like to look in the direction of the knee, and then we'll come center, and let's take it back to a child's pose, a puppy dog, a down dog, and they all work. So if you know that you like one or the other, go for it. And if you want to experiment with a couple or all three, I greatly encourage you to find what works for you in this moment. So child's pose, knees might be apart, knees might be together. Child's pose, arms might be in front of you, arms might be alongside you. Puppy dog, your knees might come a little closer, your forearms come down, your forehead comes down, your tail is up, and your toes are tucked. It's a nice way to experience the same effects of down dog without as much pressure on our upper arm, shoulder, elbow, wrist joints. And then of course we have the good old downward facing dog, where sometimes we like to move a bit in the dog. And when you're ready, if you like, you can lift. I like to lift the other foot compared to the one that I stepped back with. You might take a three-legged dog for a moment. You can pull that top knee in. You can also step forward from a three-legged table, finding lunge. Some call this Anjane asana, named after the monkey god Hanuman in another dialect. I suppose maybe you'll find your power arms. Maybe you'll add some energetic sounds. D, ri, ha, D-H-I, R-I-H-A. And when you create the sounds, maybe you'll feel the navel center pulling in and up gently to wake up the energy there. D, ri, ha, D, ri, ha, D, ri, ha. And next time you come to one side, maybe you'd like one arm to reach back and one arm to reach up. Coming center and switching sides. Remember, gazing to the floor a bit off to the side might help you find balance. And then coming center again, let's play a bit with the Hanumanasana sequence. So your front toes can wiggle forward. You could lift your heel if you have a nice slippery floor. It might help you, or not. You may want to be on your grippy mat. And of course, if you have a big pillow or a stack of blankets, you could place that underneath your upper leg and feel the support there. Finding your breathing. And then pulling that foot back when you feel complete, blocks or not, completely up to you. Pressing off the back foot and making your way forward. So if you don't have blocks, maybe you think about something in your home that is similar. It could be a stack of books if you don't mind. finding your fold. Coming up in steps, we're finding reverse swan dive, maybe returning to that open-hearted mountain. And here we are again, finding where your props are so you can clear them. A bit of moon salutations for the full flower moon, as some refer to it. Open-hearted mountain Tadasana. Moving directly to your full forward fold, unless the half fold makes better sense for you. You can even hold the backs of your legs or hold on to the backs of your heels if that feels right. Head and neck releasing. And when you're ready, lifting head and heart, and we'll step the other foot back to our low lunge, our Anjane Asana, our half moon. We have lots of moon postures in yoga. And let's see what happens if we come up, one hand at a time, two hands at a time, staying very centered, or moving forward is completely up to you. Inviting the idea of listening to the body and what we might benefit more from here. As your hands come down, let's keep one hand down and reach the other hand out, up, or maybe the palm will place near your ear, finding the gaze that suits you. Coming to center, let's see what happens on the other side. Coming center, finding your balance. If you'd like, bending the back knee, you can flex the foot, you can point through the toes, and maybe the opposite hand compared to that back foot will reach for the foot, we'll find a pant leg to hold on to, we'll make a connection. Coming center, if you'd like, the front foot can do a little heel toeing, toe healing, and maybe, just maybe, you'll roll a bit to the outer edge of your foot and give your knee a little nudge out to the side. Or sometimes we like to lift our arm and gaze in that direction. Coming center when you feel complete, taking it back, child's pose, puppy dog, down dog, any combination that suits you as you wish. And sometimes we don't know what we wish for, so we play with it. If you'd like, you can gently lift the head and heart and walk your hands to one side. And maybe you'll find your way to the other. Coming center, puppy dog, down dog, as you wish. From puppy dog, you might move to a table and create a three-legged table. From down dog, you could lift the other foot compared to what you stepped back with, and then pulling that knee forward and making your way to the lunge. Once again, finding the half moon as you wish. Finding your power arms. D, D-H-I, Ri, R-I, Ha. On the Ha, maybe you'll feel that little pull in and up. D, Ri, Ha. Energizing sounds. D, Ri, Ha. 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 Coming center, maybe finding those long arms again. One to the back leg, palms meet, switching sides. Coming center, let's see about finding our Anjaneyasana, our Hanumanasana, depending on the school of yoga you practice with. The toes can wiggle forward, the heel can press forward, and of course, if you have a nice stack of pillows nearby or a rolled blanket, or sometimes we even have a bolster to place underneath, that can be helpful. Coming undone when you feel complete and making your way to the top of your mat on your own time. Coming up in steps, finding reverse swan dive as you wish. I'm going to move closer to the wall now, and I'll move my blanket out of the way because I don't want to trip while I move into my balancing position. So if you prefer to use a belt, or some people roll up a towel, you're welcome to do that to wrap around your foot. And just having the wall nearby is kind of nice sometimes for our balance sake. 1 foot grounds. The other leg you could hold underneath. Again, you could use your belt or your strap. You could hold in front. You could give this leg a really big hug in and actually hold your elbows if you'd like. And then another option is to bind. So your matching arm could come inside the bent knee. And I like to start by holding my ankle. And then this hand at the wall could stay as you practice a forward fold in this one-legged stand. Or your hand at the wall could come around and find your low back, and you can practice imagining the bind. Or maybe, just maybe, those fingers find each other and you bow forward from any of those places we just went through. So you can hold the wall and then coming up and unwinding. It might feel good to walk it out, to shake it out. Sometimes a little rounding out feels just right here. And let's see what happens on the other side. So wall or not, up to you. Belt or not, up to you. Holding under, holding in front, squeezing and giving a big hug around. Maybe the matching arm comes inside the leg and you're holding your ankle. Maybe the other arm comes around back and you're practicing the bind. And maybe you'll bow forward from here, or you'll keep your hand at the wall, or perhaps you'll work a little more with the bind and see what happens on this side. And coming undone. You might want to walk it out, shake it out. Rounding out can feel really nice for the hips at times. And we'll continue our work with the wall, or maybe you have a chair, and we'll plant through the first foot and maybe lift the second and find the wall. You might want to keep a bend in one or both knees. You may like to lengthen and bow. So you could also have a belt around the ball of the foot if you prefer not to use the wall. And then as you lift your head and heart, I'm going to just see about turning my bottom foot so I can do the second part of this posture. I have my foot now out to the side. If that doesn't work for you, please step away from the wall and resituate yourself. And I'm holding onto my leg that's up. This is also where you could hold the belt, and I'm holding my hip. So these are a continuation of the one-legged asanas. They're actually in the tree pose sequence taught by my classical teacher in Vinyasa Krama yoga. And then we can come away from the wall, and again you might shake it out, walk it out. Rounding out can be a nice option. And we'll take the other foot down and the other foot to the wall. And you'll see sometimes we need to be closer, sometimes we need to be further, sometimes we bend a knee, sometimes just a tiny bend, lengthening as you're ready, bowing as it suits you. Finding your breath, allowing for differences as we move from side to side. When you feel complete, you may come to stand again, and I'm going to turn my bottom foot. If that feels not safe for you, please don't do it. So now my bottom foot is out to the side, so I've opened rather than folding over the leg at the wall. And this would be where you could have your belt. Sometimes we hold the big toe or the inner edge of the foot. I'm going to hold my leg today, finding your breathing. And then when you're ready, coming away from the wall, walking, shaking, wiggling, rounding. And we'll come to the top of the mat, blocks or not, up to you. Actually, you could do this at the wall as well, so see what you prefer. We'll move through a bit of the warrior sequences, which are also part of the tree pose sequence, as opposed to a set or a kriya. We have a Vinyasa Krama sequence. So we'll go through what are called warrior 1, 2, and 3, but they're quite different than, not different, they'll be similar to you, you'll see, than what we might think of as warrior 1, 2, and 3. So your bottom knee is invited to bend, while your top leg comes up. You might see about pointing through your top toes, blocks or not, up to you. You could practice reaching one hand forward. You could practice reaching the other hand forward. You might, with that front bent knee, lift both hands and take that Kali Mudra again. And then from here, we lengthen the standing leg, finding your breathing. And then from here we bow forward. The hands, the blocks might make their way back to the standing leg while your nose comes closer to your knee and your shin area, and the top tippy toes reach up as high as they'll go, and then we'll bring that top foot down and return to a half fold. You may want to take a moment in your child's pose, in your puppy dog, in your down dog, and we'll move to the other side. So your front knee has a bend and your other leg reaches up, and we are invited to point through our toes this time. And maybe, again, you'll practice lifting one hand. Maybe you'll lift the other. Maybe you'll lift two. So you could do this at the wall, right? Pressing your hands into the wall. Or maybe you want to back up and press one foot into the wall. Your front knee is bent. And then we start to lengthen that front leg, breathing. And then we find our forward fold, where the head and the neck come closer to the knee and the shin, and the back tippy toes lift way high up. And finally, we bring it down to the mat. So maybe you'll take a half lord of the fishes here. Your bottom leg might prefer to come long. Your bottom leg might prefer to bend. Sometimes we like a boost under the seat, lengthening as you're ready. And we'll give that front knee a good old hug. Finding your breathing. Coming center, taking it to the other side. Coming center, switching sides. Again, you might like the bottom leg long. You might like the bottom knee bent. Marichyasana, I believe this is a variation of the Marichyasana posture. When you feel complete, coming center and giving it a counter twist. Coming center, and in honor of our happy belated Arbor Day, we'll take a resting tree if you like, now that we've given the spine a bit of a twist. So have what you need nearby. Sometimes we like a roll of blanket under any one part of us. I'm going to give my neck a little roll today, so I'll have the blanket there. And you may or may not want blocks nearby as you find your resting tree. So coming down, you know you can do one hand, one arm at a time, or as long as you have safe space, you might come down one vertebra at a time, and then setting up your roll of blanket wherever it suits you. We'll keep one leg long and bend the other. Sometimes the bent knee likes support, sometimes it wants to be on its own, and you're welcome to set the foot wherever it feels best for you. And as we slow down, you might like to add some layers. I like to have my pulse points covered. It just keeps me a tiny bit warmer. Giving yourself permission to ease into a bit of constructive rest, if you will, where there's nothing to do there's no place to be. Except right here, right now. And the mind may try to convince us otherwise, and some are pointing to the heart and our emotions. Not pointing in a bad way, but we're human. We have lots of emotions to express ourselves with, and if the emotions are keeping the mind busy, maybe we'll give them some breath work. Maybe we'll give them some permission to rest. You might be quite happy on this side in your resting tree, or you may want to balance it out and switch sides. Your arms are welcome to rest however it suits you. Sometimes we like that top of letter T positioning. Sometimes we find our breathing as the hands rest on the belly. Sometimes the arms stay long near the body. You might be quite happy in your resting tree. Or perhaps both knees want to bend, and you'll give yourself a bit of resting goddess time or resting power time. So this is our secret, right? Well, not so much a secret, but maybe considered a secret weapon. When we rest, we're much better able to focus. Our body feels whole. We've connected, or we're working on connecting our mind and our body and our breathing. And some would add in there our spirit or our soul or our power. Finding the words that work for you as we recharge this system we have here, many systems actually, with this holistic approach of taking good care of the whole body, the whole being, not just one part or the other. You are welcome to pause the tape and take your Shavasana, your constructive rest, as it suits you. I'm going to start coming back so that we can close our practice. Please take your time and do what works best for you. When you feel complete, come back. Beginning to awaken as it suits you. Maybe even giving the soles of feet a moment to press together and rub. The palms of hands come together and rub, awakening thousands of nerve endings. And maybe those warm hands will place somewhere on your ears, over your eyes, cupping if you like. Maybe your heart and your belly. You might like to rock to one side and find your way slowly but surely up to your seat. You might like to rock and roll forward and back and come on up. Giving yourself permission to find a comfortable place to be while we conclude our practice with a bit of breath work. The invitation is to practice Chandra Badana, Chandra meaning moon, Badana meaning channel. Your right hand makes the backwards letter L. I like to take my trusty Vishnu mudra. You can place your fingers, your hand, the way you prefer. One thumb closes matching nostril, and for Chandra Vadana, moon breathing, we're invited to breathe in and out the left side. I have one teacher that has us breathe out first, and I have one teacher that has us breathe in first. Maybe you'll play with it and see what works for you. Moon breathing is said to be calming and cooling. And when you feel complete, perhaps returning to the Kali Mudra. The most recent translation I've been given for Namaste is I recognize my true essence in every soul I meet. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice, friends. If you'd like your own personalized video, be in touch. Until next time, be well.